Hi, this is Anna Edgination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives. All right, gloves are coming off. I just got asked a question, and the question is phenomenal. It's what is my psychological relationship between financial freedom and psychological freedom? And I went, ooh, this is a big one. Now, yesterday, actually, I posted in Abraham Hicks' group. It was like one of those spin-offs of Abraham Hicks where I asked about manifesting money. I had a lot of people assuming a whole lot of shit that wasn't true. Once we got through that, a lot of people basically commented about, well, I'm just going to be ugly and blunt about this. They were really self-righteous about, I don't need money. I don't want money. And I'm going, right, okay. And then they made a couple comments, and it's interesting because what I see a lot of is people basically claiming that they have control over money, that they have everything they want, and then at the same breath, they'll turn around and struggle. There is this war going on between self-righteousness, and it's not even self-righteousness, it's societal induced shame righteousness with money. And it goes back to, I don't want to talk about this again, but it goes back to the church basically saying that in order to be righteous, you have to be poor. And we have this bastardization of definition in our head that says, if you want to be righteous, you have to be poor. If you want to be righteous, you have to be starving. I'm looking up the word righteousness because the word is 100% Christian based. The quality of being moral or justifiable, the quality of being morally right, virtuous, good. That is what righteousness means. And there's this concept of, yeah, that's actually a really great way of putting it. When you break down the definition of righteousness, it means good, which means if you're poor, you're good. If you're wealthy, you're bad. And I see this a lot with Robin Hood. That's absolutely, Robin Hood is such a huge part of this. If you're good, then you're poor. And it's such a fucking stupid concept because it's such a prejudice thing to think. It really is a prejudice. And we're not calling it that. Oh, you think all people who are poor are good? You think a person being poor makes them moral and good? Because I've never known a poor, bad person. I don't know about you, but I have known plenty of impoverished people who are narcissistic, abusive fucking assholes. But this is like the thing that we're not really thinking about. That really, when it comes down to it, yeah, yeah, this is really a huge part of it is we have this perverted definition or ideal that if you are righteous or good, then you have to be poor. Being poor has absolutely fucking nothing to do with your morals. They are taking a very wealth-based status and attaching good and bad, morals and ethics to wealth. Wealth has nothing whatsoever to do with your morals. It has to do with your mental illness. It has to do with your concept of this world is really fucked up. This world is really fucked up. There is so much nonsense. There is so much fucking insanity to it. And I thought when I healed, I'll walk away and I'll look at it and be like, oh, now the world makes sense. I feel like I've always lived in Wonderland. And I felt so much like Alice, just going, does anyone else see this fucking insanity? And I thought it was just my parents. I thought it was just my household. I thought it was just my school. I thought it was just my town. I thought it was just New York State. I thought it was just the country. We are all really fucked up. Really fucked up. And the reason why we're all fucked up is simply because we're not asking questions. We're not questioning anything. We're not questioning a goddamn thing. People have this concept that being poor makes you a good person. That doesn't make any logical sense. So we sabotage our own success and wealth. Then we cry that we're failures and losers and will never amount to anything. And then we struggle and we're worried about feeding our own children. But you're righteous. And then we're raped and abused and beaten by filthy, horrible, poor people. And then we say things like, being poor makes you good. And I just feel like Alice taking off the glasses going, no more nonsense. No more nonsense. No more. I'm all done with the nonsense. And I'm trying to get my head wrapped around money and whether or not it's something that we should have in a new society. That's really what I'm doing. People are like, oh, you're selfish. You want money. No, I'm building a society. And I'm working with other people in the background. And we are building a fucking society. That's what I'm doing. That's what my cohorts and I are doing. We are literally laying the groundwork for a new societal order. And in order to do that, we have to analyze the psychological current makeup of everything that's wrong with what's currently happening. So as we're building this new society, we're asking questions like money. Should money be in the new system? It simplifies a lot. It simplifies a lot. Because instead of arguing and bickering over barter and trade, you can just fall back onto the monetary system. There's a lot of power intertwined with the concept of money. You don't need money to live. You really don't. I've been doing it for a year. And I'm not the only one. I have friends who have been out of the system and they have been living without money for a year. I am living in one of the world's most expensive cities free, without a job, without income. And I'm on this massive pursuit of, is money evil? Do you need money? When we build this new society in this new order, because we have something separate that's existing outside of the matrix. I don't answer to that government. It's not mine. I'm not represented in it. It's not mine. So I believe in a society where people can self-govern. And the question keeps coming back to, should there be money within this new societal order? And I've got all these people who are impoverished boasting how righteous they are because they're poor. And I'm just, no more nonsense. No more nonsense. I'm all done with it. And I'm stepping back from it all and I'm just looking at it and I'm trying to figure this out. Because I'm trying to figure out if there should be a monetary system within this. Somebody said to me in that comment that I made yesterday that when you focus on your own resourcefulness, your requirement for money goes away. So it's like money versus your own resourcefulness. But the third perspective, the third ethic states that we all have our own limitations. And at some point, we must ask for help. Accept your own limitations. And we're back to money enters the equation. Now, you can use bartering skills, you can use your skills, or you can use your money. Those are your options. Your skills or your money. Burning Man is a society and a culture that steps outside of the money and says, there's no money, there's only bartering and skills here. And I'm looking at it going, I don't think there is anything wrong with money. I think the only thing wrong with money is how stupid people are about money. Things like, you're poor, therefore you're good. And I just want to take all of this garbage out of my brain that societal shaming has put into me. I don't want it inside of me anymore because it's so fucking stupid. Poor equals good. No. And I'm just looking at it going, and I see, this is the funny thing. There's this good versus bad. This is really what this comes down to. And I get people who are saying, oh, you're disrespectful. Okay. And they somehow feel that judging me for me being disrespectful makes them a better person. And it's this massive comparison, this competition of who is the goodest person among us. You realize that's what we're doing? We are arguing via comparison over who the goodest person is of all. Who is the goodest person? That's the ultimate competition. Who is the goodest? I'm going to use that word. Who is the goodest? And in every one of our perspectives, it's all a competition of who has to be the goodest. Oh, well, this person's disrespectful. When I'm in her power of position, I'm going to be better than her. I'm not going to be disrespectful. It is, but in it, your pompous, righteous arrogance is by default making you a worse or as bad person. Like, we are literally arguing over what makes a good person versus what makes a bad person. This is the ultimate argument. This is the ultimate dispute. Monogamists and polyamory people are arguing over what makes you good and bad. Sexual exploitation, sexual encounters, sexual promiscuity makes you good or bad. Violence makes you good or bad. And no one can agree on what makes a person good or bad. Poverty makes you good or bad. Obedience makes you good or bad. 99% of these good and bad qualifications come from the church. So obedience makes you good or bad. Poverty makes you good or bad. Being humble makes you good or bad. Being a doormat makes you good or bad. And I studied ethics in philosophy for 30 years. To be blunt, which is more than most people, I know my fucking ethics. I know your ethics. I can watch it in your subconscious mind. I can watch it when I talk to people. I can see what ethics that they confirm is what makes you a good person and a bad person. Most people have no fucking idea what an ethic is. Almost no one knows about the 12 stages of ethics, which were defined by a psychologist back in the 70s. Like, people are fucking clueless. They have the 10 Commandments, which is so corrupt and so tainted to begin with. There's actually a lot with the 10 Commandments I do agree with. But the why is where people just have no clue. And we have this massive amount of absolute lack of comprehension of what makes a person good or bad. And that's what we're all arguing about. Who is the goodest one of us all? And it's like, first of all, an ethic is a personal law. As soon as something becomes personal, it stops being a comparison. You cannot have something personal and have something that's compared to it. You can't do that. It doesn't work. It's not logical. It's personal for a reason. If it's public, okay. If you have a public law, now you can compare. But when it's personal, it's neither right nor wrong. And that's really what good and bad is right or wrong. And we're all arguing over what is right and wrong. So we're all pretty much in agreement that consent is right, and not even that. There's like a group of us that think that consent is optional. And when you start getting into the dispute of under what grounds consent is good or bad, now you're getting into the question of whether or not rape is good or bad. And we're all pretty much in agreement that child abuse is absolutely wrong, except we're not defining precisely which type of child abuse. And there's some areas of abuse that we're all agreeing this is wrong. Very good. We have agreed that there are things I won't say because it disturbs me so much, but you know what I'm talking about. That's wrong. And we're all in agreement. That's okay. We're all on the same fucking page. And that's about it. That's about it. Now we're all sitting here going, okay, well, what about the rest of the ethics? And no one can agree. And we're not supposed to agree on the ethics, except for that one. I'm going to say that, yeah, that's a big one. But we're all sitting here arguing, and you've got vegetarians who are saying, it is my personal ethic that I feel it is ethically wrong to eat animals because in my ethical law and perspective, animals are equal to us. This is my ethical law. And then you've got carnivores and non-vegetarians screaming that we are against the natural order of things because we have canine teeth. Oh my God. And it's like, okay, did you hear the fact that I said ethical law and it's personal? And we're arguing over opinions like they're facts. And it's just the whole thing is messed up. And none of us can agree what makes a person good or bad. It's the dumbest, no more nonsense. And everyone keeps saying the same thing, that if you're poor, you're a good person. That isn't even logical. And then you have people flouting their own righteousness. Oh, if you're righteous, if you're humbled, if you're respectful, these make you good things. If you're nice, if you act like a doormat, if you allow people to beat the fuck out of you, you're a good person. No. If you assert yourself, you're a bad person. And then there's people who can't see the difference between assertion and then there's people, this is my favorite, hating is bad. Anger is bad. Where the fuck are you guys getting your rules from? Like it's just it's this massive no more nonsense. No more nonsense. And it's I'm just waiting for that massive I'm ready to find the door. I'm ready to find the door. I'm ready to walk through Alice's looking glass and go back to something that's sane. And I think that's really it is there it is. I'm finally at a point where I can't justify the insanity. And this whole time I'm talking about shifting perspectives, and there's two different perspectives I can take with it. There's the how I see life, and then there's what's really being done. And the more I'm here, I'm finally at a point where I'm so deep into the 10th perspective that I'm looking back at that going, I don't understand that. I'm finally at the stage of growth where I am so far out of the matrix that it's absolute insanity to me. And I'm going, I can't understand that. I hear things like being poor equals being good. And I'm just going, So I think I'm officially at that point where I'm ready to just only comment on my opinion. I think I'm finally there because I don't think it's a definition of madness. And for me, what is mad is illogical. And I'm all done finally with that. So I'm ready to just now comment and reflect on how I see things. So for me, money is just a tool. And what makes a person good or bad is their own metric. You can't be good or bad based on what a society says. You can only be good or bad based on your own moral code. And if you don't have the ability to self-govern, well, then you can stay inside the matrix. And in point of fact, you cannot leave the matrix until and unless. And I think that's it, is I'm Dagny Taggart. And I'm finally in the mountains with John Galt. And I'm trying to make sense of insanity. No, that is definitely what I feel like. I'm in this beautiful mountain range, hidden away in this gorgeous society with John Galt, and there is peace here. And I am still looking back, and I'm trying to make sense of insanity. And I can't. I can't understand it anymore. And I think I'm finally done trying to. There's no sense to it. It's just fucking illogic. I can't explain the insane anymore, and I don't have to anymore. So I'm done talking about it. I think this is officially my last video where I reflect on that insanity because I'm just at a point now where I don't understand it, and I don't think I ever will. I can't understand that insanity. That's why I left it. So I'm done. I've accepted it. This is it. This is my final acceptance of the insanity. And it doesn't affect me anymore because I'm not part of it. So when I hear about things, when I see people's comments, I'm just going to shake my head and say, I'm not going to try and make sense of the insanity anymore. I am not going to try and understand insanity. I'm done trying. So now I'm just going to talk about where I am over here with the 10th perspective and Dagny Taggart and John Galt, and things make sense. Whether or not a person is good or bad depends upon their ability to self-govern. And either you have the ethical code to self-govern, you have the established and clearly defined 5 ethics with which to self-govern. And this is not my code of ethics. This is psychology's. This is science. We all have these or we don't. And we all get them in the same order or we don't. And if you don't, you get to stay in the insanity bucket. I am going to be in my community with my people who have learned at least the basic 5 ethics. And now there is calm and there is peace, and I am done trying to find the logical comprehension of that insanity because I can't anymore, because I'm all done with the nonsense. So there, I feel better. I feel stable. So the first ethic, as defined by Dr. Graves and by any psychologist who is worth their weight in salt, who has bothered to study spiral dynamics and the perspective psychology, is self-comfort. Your ability and your responsibility to comfort yourself, which means you know how to manage your own damn emotions. That makes sense to me. And then the second one is your own resourcefulness, your ability to assess your own resources and skills inside of you to make something out of nothing. And then the third ethic, your acceptance of your own limitations, to accept your limitations so you know you need to ask for help sometimes. And then your ability to self govern. And last but not least, my favorite is self accountability. Not you holding other people accountable. No, that is insanity. It is self accountability when you can judge your own behavior and measure it against your own ethics. And you can say, I fucked up. I did done wrong. There, there. And yeah, I do get angry. I do get passionate. I do get aggressive when I see insanity because it's my cognitive core screaming, try and find the logic, try and find the logic. And it's setting off my logic radar. And I'm going, I can't figure it out. It's the most, I can't. It's not going to get my emotional energy anymore. I hereby deem that insanity. There, I am at peace. There it is. I can't do it. Oh, look at that. I have accepted my own limitation. I feel good. I feel better. I am definitely recognizing that that stuff just sets it off and I can't do it anymore. I got out of it and I just spent so much time trying to make sense of it and I can't. And there's just no logical sense to it because it is nonsense. No sense. So it's not going to get my energy anymore. That is my limitation. There is no logic that exists for that insanity. I can't. I am closing out the doors to Wonderland. That's it. I'm just closing the doors on Wonderland and I'm going, no, 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 no more, no more. So, where I am now is the 5 core ethics. The 5 core ethics, once you have these mastered, give you the ability, and it's not just learning them, it's internalizing them. It's understanding them to the point where you can absolutely solidify who you are on them. And I want to talk going forward about these 5 ethics and the new order of the world and what lies ahead and what life is like outside of that insanity. And it's a peace and it's an understanding that there's no competition here. There's no competition. It's a celebration where each one of us is actually happy for each other. We call this compersion. I don't like the word. I actually hate the word compersion because I don't even know where it comes from. It came from the 60s. And I'm looking up the etymology now because that's really what I want is the etymology. It's like, who came up with this word? It coined by the Charista community in the 70s. There it is. A derivation from the root of the Latin verb partior. Divide, share with. It's an etymology. Yeah, it's compere. There you go. Partner. It's French, partner. Yeah, it's definitely. Okay, so it's the word dispersion with partner. Compere. I don't speak French at all. So the model of dispersion, I have no idea what dispersion means. So let me look that up. Yeah, I get very hostile when I am around illogic. That's my trigger response. That's my logic radar that I've always had. Dispersion is distributing things. So it's partner distribution. Partner distribution is basically what it means. Partner distribution or sharing. Partner sharing. Yeah. So it is solely and specifically about, yeah, I don't like the word. I don't like the word. The word to me is very illogical. That's bottom line. That's what the word is for me. It's a very illogical word. So what they're trying, yeah, that is not at all joy or happiness, and it's definitely not the opposite of jealousy. None of that makes any sense. I feel peace. Okay, so partner sharing is what compersion means. And then people say things like, oh, it means it's the opposite of jealousy. Well, partner sharing does not mean the opposite of jealousy, not at all. And then some people say that compersion means happy, or it's the feeling of joy at seeing your partner happy. Um, well, the feeling of joy, I know what word they're trying to say. It's actually love. Love in its purest form. It's pure love. When you have pure love, you have joy for another person's joy. Joy for literally a love of joy, or it's joy for someone else's joy. That is not compersion. Those are the wrong words, completely the wrong words. It just means love. That's what they're trying to communicate, but because they don't know what the word love means, because they don't know what the feeling of love means, they don't understand this. And it's because most people associate the feeling of love with need. That's part of the insanity. We're, I don't want to look at that. That door is closed. So when you are, love is joy, joy is love. It's the same thing. They're interchangeable. So when you have joy for someone, you actually have love for someone. If you are excited or you have joy or happiness for another person, you are actually experiencing love for another person. And when you are feeling joy for someone else's joy, you are feeling love for someone else's love. That's all it is. It's absolutely a beautiful thing. And that is what I call true love. That's it. It's pure love. Because it is love that is completely devoid of fear or hate. So it's just pure love. That's all. So when the person uses the word compersion, they're trying to communicate that they love you. It's such a beautiful thing. That is such a beautiful thing. So I understand me a lot more now. And I'm going to call that the place where Anna cannot look at or talk about, because it contradicts the logic of Anna so much that it makes me insane. So what you've been watching for the last 9 months is my insanity while I try and figure out the nonsense. And I've decided to accept my limitation and just close that door and say, I can't do it anymore. I do not, and I will not give that my energy any longer. So I am instead going to focus on an alternative. And the alternative is what life looks like when you have these 5 core ethics in place properly. And with triadic healing, I teach you how to put these in place. And self-comfort is just your emotional IQ. It is your ability to manage and govern your emotions. And I use the term, the subtle art of feeling. And I'm going to be, yeah, oh my God, this feels so much better. The subtle art of feeling. So I have a list of topics that I'm not allowed to touch. The Hoover Dam is one of them. I am going to add that nonsense, and I'm just going to call it that nonsense, to the list of banned topics that I just cannot put my thought or energy into any longer because I'm tired of being angry. So, money. Money is just a tool. There's nothing wrong with money. Money is an absolutely beautiful tool. It's very handy. It's very healthy. And it is insane to even bring morals into this conversation. And I'm not going to do that because that's part of Wonderland. So, money and tools. There we go. There we go. Money is just a tool. There's nothing wrong with it. That being said, the psychological relationship between financial abundance, in my world, financial abundance and money, financial security and abundance allows me the luxury of taking care of my needs and my wants and my love system. The more I have, the easier it is for me to take care of my love system. And once I've been able to take care of my love system and I've been able to take care of my home and my children's needs, I have so much left over that I happily pour it back into the system to help other people. This is philanthropy, and this is what I want to do. Yes, yes, I feel so much better. Yes, yes, I feel fantastic. So this is where I am. I am happy now. I am at peace and calm, and I just am not allowed to talk about that anymore. This is just going to be no, no, no. And that's just going to be my thing is that's it. Is just I'm done with that. I'm completely cutting the rest of it out of me. There's no more me wasting time to try and figure it out because I can't. That's my limitation. And I'm accepting my limitation with happiness because it means I can let that go and move on. By the way, that's forgiveness. So if you love shit like this, like, subscribe, follow below, share what part resonated with you, and take a look at the link below if you are ready to jump into your authentic life and get yourself out of Wonderland. Grab the link below and take a look at the menu. We offer a lot here. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.